welcome to TrueCloud ERP. We're going to take a look at our WayPay Pro and what's new for October 2020. Let's go ahead and click on the new button. You're going to see that it's been about a year since we pushed our features to production, so quite a few releases that have happened. A lot of these are internal releases as we're testing and going through and fixing items, so not all of these are new features. But one of our big features we're going to highlight today is our new Freight Calculator. Freight Calculator allows us to do chargebacks to the customer, but it also allows us to add freight in for the company so that we can track our cost of goods with freight. So we're going to take a look at that and highlight it in this video because there's just too much to really go over. The other section that we're going to highlight in this video is how to split a line item, how to do a line item regrade. And so this is very important when you're bringing in, let's say, a load of copper number 1, and then you found some copper number 2 in it, and you want to split that out to make sure that you pay properly for it while you're creating your ticket. So in our ticket, let's go ahead and open up a transaction. And you're going to see that I've got one started here, and I'm buying some HMS number 1 by the gross ton. So you'll see I'm paying $230 a ton. And then you'll notice that here's my scale weight, which was 80,000, my tare weight was 40, and my net weight is 40,000 pounds. And I've already done a $250 deduction where I've deducted from the amount as a chargeback. And so let's go into that. Under more options to your left, I can go scroll to my freight rate. And you'll notice right now that I have a $500 freight rate, and I've split that between the supplier and the company. So that way my cost of goods is going to be allocated for the $500, but the supplier only sees what we've charged back against them, and then the company will see both the chargeback and the $250. Now you'll notice that we've added the ability to add all the above in sequence or one or the other. So if I wanted to say no flat rate, I want to do just trip miles, and I'm going to charge a 100-mile trip, and I'm charging $1 a mile. There's my $100. And so you can do the same for the hour. You can also do the same for the weight, which is a powerful tool. It takes the net weight times whatever you put into here. And so I can do that by the gross ton, and I can say we're doing a $100 a ton or $10 a ton. And so you can see here how we can calculate the freight automatically. So this is a very powerful freight calculator tool that allows us to apply that evenly or just to the supplier as a chargeback or both. So that's a very important factor. Let's go ahead and take a look at our back office and see how that's parsed into our reporting. So when we go into our new back office, you're going to see the ability to go over to your inventory. And I can go down to either incoming or outgoing, depending on which one that you're using. But you'll notice that freight minus, this is the supplier side. So this number is what we bought, and this is my value minus my freight chargeback already. So it's already been calculated. My average cost in my freight is already less $393 because we didn't pay that out. We obviously charge back the supplier for it. On the freight plus side, this means that we've added freight to the cost, which means our cost of goods have went up, and you'll notice the difference between the value here and the value here, and also my average price went up by 2 cents because the company paid for freight. Therefore, we want to allocate that into our actual cost of goods so we know how much money we've invested into that product as a total. So that is an important factor when it comes to freight chargeback. That's also been added. If I go to my reports, it's added to my daily reports, and it's also added to my product reports. And so let me just pick up a little bit of date range here to make sure I get some freight for you. And so you'll notice that we've added the chargeback. This is how much you've taken off of the ticket because of the you charge it back to the supplier. And then this is the company freight plus. And so that means that the company picked up this additional cost of freight, and it changes my cost of goods down to the line item level. So our freight is all the way from the line item all the way up to total inventory and total freight. So that's a big change in our system, and we hope you really enjoy our new freight calculator and how we parse that out into our reports. So freight calculator, very big tool for you to use, And again, you can use all four, or you can just use one flat rate. You can parse it to just the supplier, or you can split it between the supplier and the freight. Or if the company picked up 100%, we simply go like this. We put a 0 there, and now all of it goes to the company. The supplier does not see anything on the transaction. It's reduced from here, and so we have the ability to have your total freight rate put on there. So even though you can see the freight rate plus on the line item, this will not print. Your supplier will not see your freight, but we wanted you to be able, the company itself, to be able to see how much they paid for freight on this line item. And of course, just like all of our freight, if I were to go into our system and I were to say, you know what, there were 2 items on this and I want to split, and I just say $500, you'll notice my freight has now been split between my new line item and my secondary line item, thereby allocating accurate cost of goods freight at the line item level. That is truly an impressive feat in the scrap metal industry, to tracking your freight down to the pound on each customer. So that's a very important factor. Let's go ahead and let's take that off, and let's take this one off for now, and then let's go into and do a line item level split. I'm going to take copper number 1, and I'm going to put just 5,000 pounds on the scale, and we'll do a 1,000-pound container if it was in like a 4x7 or a larger container, and we're paying $2.15. So let's assume that we're now inspecting this load and we wanted to split it. I could hit the split line item. We have some new options. I can do a full split, and this creates a parent-child relationship between your original line item. I can do, of course, a one-time split. I can also use the last tear for the new gross. So that's a new feature, and I can, of course, just clone that ticket or that line item if I want to just clone it. But let's do the kind of the standard regrade of that number 1 copper as it's being inspected. Your inspector can come in and say, well, I want to do it as a just my net weight, and I want to do it by the pound. And am I going to split that into 1, or am I going to split that into 3 categories? So typically it's a 1-to-1, but we give you an option to add 3. So I'm going to say, you know what, I want to go into my categories, and I want to go to my copper, and I want to say copper number 2. And I'm going to say, well, how many pounds of copper number 2 did I find? And I'm going to say, out of that 5,000, I found 100 pounds of copper number 2. So it gives you a confirmation screen. So you can see my gross on my first line item, and I can see my gross and tear on my second line item, and I can confirm that. Now you'll notice these two are linked together. So these are not, this is one line item, but you'll notice that I've now reduced my net by 100, and I've put 100 into this category, and I'm charging only $2 for this line item, or paying, I should say, and I'm paying out $2.15 for this line item. So those are our 2 really big features, and of course you can go back at any time if you wanted to delete that, or if you needed to edit that, you can go back and edit the child-parent split. So 2 really big features that we've added: the freight calculator and the ability to do regrades on a line item level to enhance your, this is both in the WayPay Mobile and in the WayPay Pro, both features, same settings all the way through to help keep you consistent. We really hope that you enjoy the new version of WayPay Pro, WayPay Mobile, and WayPay Online. And remember, the truth is on every image.